Hey, welcome back to the channel. Part 3 of the 3-part series, the last part. This time we're going to cover assault weapons, magazine-fed light machine guns, and saws, and belt-fed medium light machine guns. Not in that particular order, but those are the 4 guns we're going to cover. When it comes to assault weapons, real assault weapons, intermediate cartridge, shoulder fired, select fire weapons, not the BS democratic assault weapons that the media likes to push today. The 2 to come to mind first are the M16 and the AK-47. The AK-47 and the M16 are probably also the 2 best. There are a lot of others, AR-18s, FN-2000s, Steyr AUGs, the list goes on and on and on and on. It's a very popular thing, and I have quite a few of them. Lots of M16s and lots of AK variants, but they're not the coolest. Now, normally when I say, well, what do people think are the coolest? We're talking about gamers and stuff like that. I'm going to actually talk about gun nuts in this particular section, because if you take a person that's shot an automatic weapon, an M16 or an AR-15 or an AK-47 or something like that, some other kind of assault weapons, or they own one, and you ask them, what is your dream assault weapon? Something you think is really cool. Taking account I have to own it. There is only one answer, and this is it: the Sturmgewehr. This is the coolest assault weapon. Certainly it's the coolest assault weapon I own, but I think it's the coolest assault weapon, period. Not the best, but definitely the coolest. And believe it or not, I think you could still field these and still fight a war with them. I think they're that well made. Granted, they're heavy by today's standards because they're steel, but it's an excellent weapon and it's an excellent caliber. So let me tell you about this STG-44. This one isn't actually marked STG-44. This one's marked MP-44. From the serial number, it's a 5-digit serial number with the /45. It was made in 1945. This gun I purchased from a woman who lived in Sandy Lake, Pennsylvania. Her father, who was in the 1st Infantry Division, brought it back from the war. He picked it up on the Belgian-French border somewhere, according to a service record, somewhere around March, April 45, towards the very end of the war. This STG-44 is kind of interesting because it has the MP-44 instead of the STG-44 markings. This is a repop sling, but it has the late, really basically unfinished metal castings, really rough. Up here the welds are very, very visible, yet the lower is blued. So obviously I think this was really just part of, towards the end of the war, they just took guns from different places and threw them together, and they turned out STG-44s to try to keep fighting. But by far, this is the coolest one I own. Oh, it came with 1 magazine. Since then we have acquired 1 other original magazines, and we use repops on everything else. The weather in Pennsylvania went to shit. This video is going to take a while to finish because you'll notice I will go through a couple of outfit changes because it's cold, it's rainy, it's snowing at night. Dogs and cats are living together, mass hysteria. That's the end of the world here. So, coolest assault rifle I own. Moving on to the next one. We're back with the STG-44 for the live fire section. Just to give you a rundown on what we're doing, I have some Primo Partisan new-made Kurtz ammo in an original magazine. There's only 20 rounds. I have 2 magazines. What I'm going to do is I'm going to burst 1 magazine and then I'm going to mag dump the second. Since these are original mags and original gun, there's no guarantee they're going to run. If they don't, that's what you're going to get, because it's just too much aggravation to find Kurtz ammo. So let's give it a whirl. And as I said earlier in one of my videos, it's just not worth it doing semi. So we'll burst this one off. Oh, failure to eject. Just let that one fall. Believe it or not, that was 20 at a buck a bullet. Now, on these guns, if you notice, the first shot I only fired was 1 round. That wasn't a gun, that was me. This gun is so slow compared to what I'm used to firing, you could snap singles. Now, we bought this magazine at the last Knob Creek. We've never fired it. It's an original mag. It was very expensive. We'll see if we can get a 20 round burst out of it. Not so good so far. Disadvantage of not having a bolt hold open device. Alright. Going to get 19. Now, we're not going to get 19. We're going to get 17. I would say, I'm going to drop this down to the ground so I can talk it for a second. I would say that this magazine is either full Cosmoline or maybe the spring's a little weak because the mag lips do not appear to be bent. But it ran once I get to 15 rounds. Alright, we're going to move on to the next gun. Hey, let's discuss the second type of weapon. Did assault weapons. Now we're going to do magazine fed light machine guns. There are a lot of magazine fed light machine guns, especially World War II, a little bit after. I'm looking at my rack behind my son, and I'm looking at a Bren gun. I'm looking at a ZB30. I have the Hotchkiss guns, which is, even though it's a strip fed, it's still considered a magazine. I have the Type 99. I have the DPM. All decent guns. I would say the Bren and the ZB30 are way ahead of the other ones, but not the coolest. The coolest is when you talk to a gun guy, what do you want to shoot? And it's funny, I was just talking to a friend of mine who had a Class 3 license and he gave it up. And I also was talking to another friend of mine who's a manufacturer, and he just bought a parts kit for one because they both said the same thing. They really want to shoot one or own one. A BAR, an American BAR. Not the best, way far the coolest. So let me tell you about this BAR. This BAR is an original Winchester World War I gun. The barrel is dated 9 of 1918. When I got this, it is registered as a 1918 A2 because it went through the upgrades. When I got it, it had the World War II front wood on it, the carry handle, the World War II sight, and really, I'm not too happy with Bakelite. So what happened is I put a World War I handguard on it, I put a World War I sight on it, and I've had a reproduction wooden World War I buttstock made, but it is cut out to take the A2 buffer, which this gun has an A2 buffer. Also, this is the original trigger guard. If you notice, this is a modified 1918 with the screwed on ears, which I think is, of all the ones with ears, is the coolest looking one. You also notice it has the 1918 A2 bipod. Since this gun doesn't do semi and full, when we shoot this gun, we're going to do slow and fast. And as I said in the assault weapons earlier in the video, the weather in Pennsylvania went to shit. And since I'm going to be laying on the ground to shoot this, it's maybe a while before this video gets completed. Hopefully when you're watching this, I'll have got it right. So, coolest magazine fed light machine gun I own, 1918 A2 BAR. Moving on. Alright, we're to the live fire section of the BAR. Oh, forgive me, Pennsylvania is about 7,000% humidity today. We're going to do it with the selector switch all the way forward, which should be slow. But on the other hand, I'm not real sure, it might be fast. And then we'll do the mag on the other setting, so we have 2 mags to shoot. Open bolt gun, lock it open, put my ears on. That was 20. Now let's open it up, put it on the other selector switch, give it 20 more. That was 20 on fast. Lock, look, unload, clear. All right, we're gonna move on to the next gun. Hey, the next section of the video is about SAWs, squad automatic weapons. When you think of a squad automatic weapon, the most common one is the FN-249, at least in American mentality. Don't have an FN-249. Don't really want an FN-249. I don't think it's even the best of the categories. I think it shoots too fast. It's a good gun. It's FN, so it's obviously a good gun, but I don't want one. So it isn't going to fit into the category of coolest guns I own. So you may think it's the coolest saw, but I don't own it, so it's not going to be in a video. What kind of saws do I have? I have an RPD, I have an RPK. I have a Czechoslovakian VZ5257, which, by the way, there are a couple videos on the channel which you should check out if you're interested in truly obscure Czech weapons. But since it's so obscure, it's not the coolest because nobody even knows what it is. Or at least the coolest is we're doing in this series. What's the coolest? I have 2 other saws. One is on the wall behind me, Ultimax Mark II, Ultimax 100 Mark II. Definitely cool. Definitely excellent gun. Not the coolest one I own, though. This is the coolest one I own. This is an Ultimax 2000. I've done a whole full-length video with TFB TV on this gun with Miles, and if you want to really learn more of the details about that, you should go out and check out both of my Ultimax videos I did with TFB TV. His production values are way better than mine. But let me tell you about this Ultimax 2000. The Ultimax 2000 came about when the company that I work for, which was Class 3 Supply, which is the importer, was importing Mark IIs and Mark IIIs from Mark IIIs directly from Singapore. Mark IIs came in from Croatia. And there was some interest in trying to push them to the American military or the law enforcement. But with the proprietary drum, and they had to modify an M16 magazine, which is discussed in the TFB TV videos, by the way, it just wasn't going to fly. In the original design also, the Mark II didn't have a quick change barrel, the Mark III did, but none of them could mount optics. So either with the suggestion of the people that ran my company I worked for, or in-house, I don't know how it came about, they came up with this gun. Rail is welded on the top. Has the quick change barrel, the Mark III. Has a mag well that takes standard M16 magazines. It does not take their proprietary drum. It'll take a Beta or even a Magpul D60. It also came with a folding stock, a side folding paratrooper stock, which is not on this gun. So as far as I know, in the configuration you see it here, of course it had the folding stock on it. There were 2 imported by Class 3 Supply. I got one, and the other one I sold to a gentleman in Ohio. I believe there may have been 1 or 2 more of these imported, but I don't know if they're in the same configuration. So as far as I know, this is one of 2. I could be wrong, but there's no documentation for me to look it up and prove it one way or the other. So let me tell you, I've told you pretty much about this. It has the Mark III stock on it. The other modification I did with this is the Ultimax has a proprietary metric thread. I had an adapter made to change the front to a 1/2 by 28 so I could put either an M16 flash hider, a suppressor, or a flaming pig type muzzle attachment. There's also a video on my channel, the Ultimax 2000, running with a can. And we were using a solid steel 223 can, and what I found is with the 20-inch barrel, it causes a lot of barrel wobble. I think if I ran a titanium can, I'd be way ahead, or even if I ran just a flaming pig, I'd be way ahead of the game. So there you have it. The coolest saw I own, in my opinion, the coolest saw on the effing planet. Moving on to the next gun. Okay, we're going to do a live portion of the Ultimax video. We're going to do two 20-round magazines. This one will just be fired from the shoulder, show you there's not a lot of recoil. Then I'm going to do something special after that. So, open bolt, safety's off, magazine's in, ears. Doesn't take long to go through 20 rounds. Alright, we're going to move up and show you something different. This is what I want to show you about the Ultimax. It's so cool. Same 20-round magazine. Reloaded, of course. We moved up closer, so there's no chance of strays. Insert the magazine. Let's see, that target's right there. Not too many guns in the world you can do that with. Let's lock it open. Look, it's empty. Pull the mag. Moving on to the next gun. Hey, welcome back to the part 4 of part 3 of the end of the coolest guns I own. Belt-fed light machine guns, or belt-fed medium machine guns. I have a few, a couple German ones, lots of 1919s. Have a PKM and a Mag 58. I think that by far the PKM and the Mag 58 are the best. Probably the best ever in that class. But they're not the coolest. If you ask anybody, what's the coolest? What do they want to shoot? What would they like to see? The answer is almost always an MG42. And I got to admit, when I got my first MG42 and we took it out and I listened to it run at about 1,000 rounds a minute on the tripod that recuperates, it's freaking awesome. It really is. It's a really amazing thing to see. This gun's been on the channel before. Sometimes it runs, sometimes it doesn't. Last time it didn't run too good, but we found two major things wrong with it: broken firing pin and a missing spring. Hopefully it'll run for you in the video. So let me tell you about this MG42. This is a re-weld. But unlike most of the MG42s you see out there where they're re-welded from Yugo 53 kits, this was a German kit. So there are Waffen marks on the top cover, on the sides, up inside. It's a pretty cool gun. It's the last of the series, and everything works out. It'll run for you. This one, we're going to run it on a tripod. I've never been a fan of firing this off the bipod, so we're going to run this one on the tripod. So I hope you enjoyed the videos. Thanks for coming to the channel. We'll take it to the range. Hey, this is the part where you thought you'd see the MG42 firing. Well, guess what? That's not going to happen. I have my MG42. It's clean. It's ready to go. I'm not ready to go. Why am I not ready to go? Well, as I explained earlier in the video, the weather was shitty, and then it got better. And then Miles from TFB TV showed up, and we filmed for 3 days straight, and he made so many guns dirty. Take a look. I've already cleaned 10, and that's what I got left. Now, by doing that, plus the 3 other guns I've already shot in this video, I have way too much to clean. And because this gun shoots 8mm corrosive, I don't want to be cleaning this tomorrow or tonight. So basically, this is, if you like the video and you want to see the 42 run, put a little note in the comments below. I'll see it because I actually do read the comments. and thanks for coming to the channel.